as we are getting a terrific run. Pirro blocks the Cesaris, which allows us a chance on the outside. We're past the Cesaris. Welcome to the penultimate race of our 1991 Formula 1 season in Automobilista 2. We're here in Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix. The real race in 1991 here decided the championship in favor of Ayrton Senna, as Mansell entered this race still with a slim chance of winning the championship despite many reliability retirements earlier that season. Here, he spun off on his own on lap 10 and got stuck in the gravel trap, which allowed a McLaren 1-2 with Senna gifting his teammate Berger his only win of the season. In our universe though, the title fight is wide open with the top 3 just separated by 2 points. Basically, to clinch the championship here, Patrese would need to win with Mansell and Senna both having very poor races for their standard. For us, it is all about finishing this season on a high with a strong first half of the season followed by a poor second half. Sometimes through my own mistakes, sometimes by being taken out by lag or Michael Schumacher. Therefore, let's go conservative and say the only target today is to have a clean race, and I am sure if we manage this, the result will come anyway. Especially if we're considering the starting grid where Martini again managed an impressive P8 in qualifying. Further down, a silly season is in full swing as Moreno has already been fired by Jordan and got replaced with Alessandro Zanardi. At Leighton House, meanwhile, even Capelli got replaced by Austrian Karl Wendlinger, as Capelli has been freed up to potentially replace Alain Prost at Ferrari, who is unhappy with the team and almost didn't start this race but somehow still did, leaving Capelli off the grid entirely. Also missing is Marc Blondel, who didn't qualify for this round. Instead, we see both footworks on the grid, with Alex Caffey qualifying for this race for the very first time in our season. Well, and here we are then. P8 ahead of us is already one of the Ferraris of Jean Alesi. Lights go green as we go racing at Suzuka, and it's an okay getaway, but Emanuele Pirro in the Dallara had a fantastic start, and into turn 1 he gains 1 spot on us. We drop down to 9th. In our mirrors you see the Benetton of Nelson Piquet also trying to make a move on us, but now as we go through the S's it is pretty much line astern through here, because if you go for a silly move here, that is most likely race ending for you and the car you're trying to pass. Generally, Suzuka one of the harder tracks to pass. We've seen that this year, which was a very poor race. The 2025 Japanese Grand Prix. Impressive by Max Verstappen, but still, the racing wasn't that great, let's say it like that. So, at the moment, we are still trailing Emanuele Pirro as we're trying to get back into our starting grid position. We had a little look into the hairpin, but this is really a move for later in this race, a desperate one, or one for Kamui Kobayashi. We're close towards Spoon, but also this is not really where you would try it. Now though, the exit of Spoon, this is important to get a good one here, because this is the longest bit that you run flat out. There is a little bit of a moment on the exit of Spoon, but still the straight line speed of our Minardi is incredible and ahead of 130R already. We are past the Dallara, not the greatest run through that very quick left-hander, a bit of a lift, but we stay ahead of Pirro as we make our way into the very awkward Casio triangle, which is a very tight corner back in the day. Still a tight one nowadays, but a bit better maybe to make a move. It tightens up a lot on this version of the track. As we start lap 2 and we run wide into turn 1, a very wide line. We just keep it on the track, but that allows Emanuele Pirro through. And look in our mirrors, Andrea De Cesaris also sees the opportunity and he passes us as well, so we drop down to P10. So all the work we did by, well, pressing the accelerator towards 130R has come undone by me running wide into turns 1 and 2. In the background, Nelson Piquet still having a bit of a look, as it becomes clear that Emanuele Pirro, again, there have been quite often this year, the Dallaras, are being a bit of a moving roadblock, as it's quite clear that De Cesaris, me and Nelson Piquet could all go a lot quicker than Di Dallara, but they often qualify pretty high, as we are getting a fantastic run on De Cesaris towards Spoon. But again, this is Spoon, and a pass here involves a lot of risk. Just ask Sebastian Vettel. As Piquet has a little look down our inside, we'll leave him the room, almost run wide again. As we are getting a terrific run, Pirro blocks De Cesaris, which allows us a chance on the outside. We're past De Cesaris, we're even slightly ahead of Emanuele Pirro, but he has the inside line for 130R. We are still ahead of De Cesaris. We are kind of trying to stay on the middle of the road into the chicane, which works, and now a good exit out of the Casio triangle might allow us to move past Emanuele Pirro into turn 1, ahead of turn 1. Again, the straight line speed of the V12 engine is just so brilliant. So back into P8, we are into lap 3. Come on, that was good. And that really felt good in the car, I must admit. So, yeah, we're jumping ahead in time now, as we are just starting lap 9 of 26. And we left Pirro and the others behind, and ahead of us you can watch the battle for the final point scoring position between the two Ferraris of Alain Prost and Jean Alesi. And I let you enjoy the chase in silence now. Well, and as you can see, we are now part of that battle for P6 at 1 point, as we were even alongside Jean Alesi in the number 28 Ferrari, who had a little bit of a moment through 130R trying to pass his teammates. But again, remember my race target. I don't want to spin or crash. I want a clean race, so we have to do this carefully. The good thing is, still 16, no, even 17 laps to go to make it past these two, but this is a bit of a harder task compared to the pass we had to do on the Cesaris and Pirro, because the Ferraris, of course, are a bit more performant than the Jordan and especially Di Dallara. But again, the Minardi is going great on this track. We struggled a lot at Barcelona and even Estoril, but we're back to the performance that we saw in the first half of the season, where regularly we were punching way above our weight, as we are getting a fantastic run towards Spoon, which again is of no use because you just don't try a move into Spoon, especially if you're aiming for a clean race. But now we're getting this double slipstream of both of the Ferraris. But where to go? Alesi blocks the inside, goes off the track there a bit, or mounts the curb a lot. We have a little look down the inside, but I'm just not daring to go very late on the brakes into this chicane because I'm just so scared of the lockup. That has cost us this season dearly already as well, locking up the tyres and then having to do an extra pit stop that was not planned. And then it's just a little bit too short, the main straight, and then turn 1, even with those cars, not much of a braking zone, so ideally you have to be already past or fully alongside to even stand the chance of passing someone. So, as this battle carries on, I will stay silent again, so you can hear the 3 V12 engines that are fighting each other here. Well, and this time I was a bit more daring on the brakes. We got a better run through Spoon. I let myself drop a little further back ahead of Spoon to then get earlier on the power, and that worked quite well as we stayed alongside through 130R. Later on the brakes into the Casio triangle, there was a bit of contact with the rear of Alain Prost, but I don't think neither of us has taken any damage away from that, so we should be fine as we are now up to P7 with just one Ferrari ahead of us and just one car between us and another point scoring position. And again, this is a great run as we are alongside, even slightly ahead of Prost into 130, but Prost really pulls that one through and stays ahead for the moment. Now, this is really about making out the issues or the zones where the car ahead of you is slower. The weaknesses, that is the word I was searching for. A very hard word. I'm sorry, but yeah. We now really have to make out where Prost is slower than us and where we can try to make a move. Like, this is how overtaking and racing in Formula 1 worked for back in the day. You had to set up a move laps earlier by just identifying where you could try it. I think seeing this here, it is quite obvious that we're quicker through the S's. Then there is one spot I already made out where generally the AI has a couple of issues, and this is here. Degna 1, fine. Degna 2, they are super early on the brakes. I also get a bit scared because I'm scared of running into the back of them. So I lift and brake very early. We were very close into the hairpin to Prost. This is something where he is struggling a bit. This lap, not so much, but this might be an opportunity. Just sending one up the inside into the hairpin. This obviously is another weakness of the AI, the run towards Spoon, but as I said multiple times, I don't want to try and make a move there. Now, though, this also is where we're strong, but they're kind of daring into 130R. We saw that a lap prior. Again, we move ahead. This time, we still leave him the space because I think he was still there, didn't want to slam the door in his face, and, well, unfortunately, this is pretty much the only spot on track where the AI is much better than me. The braking into the Casio triangle, so Alain Prost, again, stays ahead. Well, again, I was having a very little look into the hairpin. You can see on the front right we had like a little lockup somewhere. I don't even remember where that happened, but yeah, that is what I meant. We're just past the halfway point, and we need these tires to last because the AI will not make a pit stop. We've seen that throughout this season. This time, though, we get a very good run. Prost very early, defending the inside, and I think this time we managed to close the door ahead of 130R, and that allows us to just stay in the middle of the road ahead of the Casio triangle, which means no chance for Prost to pull off a move, to repass us, which means, finally, we are past both of the Ferraris and up into P6, and, as you may be able to see there, Michael Schumacher in the Benetton in P5 is not too far away either, so let's try and chase him down as we enter the S's once again, but, well, sometimes things are just inevitable. Oh, come on. And in this case, this is me messing it up once again, this time fully my fault, too early on the power, and then I just lost the car and it went into the wall. Now I'm trying to make it back into the pit lane to get the aero and suspension fixed, as we're blocking, I think that is the Cesaris behind us, or it might even be Zanardi. Oh, it is Zanardi. Look at that. Yeah, so I guess that is my race target failed already, with still 12 laps to go. As I'm a bit overwhelmed by the whole situation. But as it was in Interlagos, things were about to get worse. And that one gave me quite the scare because the right rear wheel just fell off in the middle of the run towards Spoon, and that means this is the 5th retirement for us this season. So there is nothing left to do for us than to look at the results and the point scorers of today. Nigel Mansell finally wins another race ahead of Ayrton Senna with yet another P2. Riccardo Patrese, the championship leader ahead of this race, only 3rd. 4th is Gerhard Berger, and then Schumacher and Prost stayed where they were. And that makes the situation in the Drivers' Championship ahead of the season finale a very interesting one. Nigel Mansell retakes the lead ahead of Riccardo Patrese and Senna. 5 points is he ahead of his two main rivals, which means it still is a three-way fight going into Adelaide. Gerhard Berger takes 4th ahead of Nelson Piquet and Alain Prost. And then on the second page, we're still 9th, as Michael Schumacher makes it into the top 10 as he passes Bertrand Gachot with his P5 finish today. Well, in the Constructors' Championship, things are a lot more settled as Williams is already the champion, McLaren safe in second, but then there still is an interesting battle for P3 as Benetton gains 1 point today on Ferrari, so this will be decided in the season finale. Jordan pretty much settled in 5th, Minardi still in 6th. Well, and that has been it for the Japanese Grand Prix in our Pierluigi Martini Formula 1 1991 season. The next race, as I already mentioned, will be the season finale, and that takes place at Adelaide. Well, and if you want to see what we're in for, just Google 1991 Australian Grand Prix. It is going to be crazy. So, subscribe to not miss that, leave a like if you did enjoy this video, and I hope to see you all the next time. Until then, goodbye.